Our tried and true muffin recipe only makes about 1 dozen muffins. If we want to make about 2 dozen muffins, how much of each ingredient do we need? Well, if we're going from 1 dozen to 2 dozen, that means we need twice as much of each ingredient. So we are going to have to multiply each ingredient by 2. Well, starting out here, 1 egg, that's pretty straightforward. 1 times 2 tells us that we're going to need 2 eggs. But then when we come to milk, we start getting into fractions. Remember, to multiply by a fraction, we need to also turn our whole number into a fraction. So 1/2 becomes 1/2 times 2 over 1. Multiply my numerators together, multiply my denominators together. I have 2 over 2. 2 over 2 then simplifies that we're going to need 1 cup of milk if we double our recipe. Same thing then for a 4th cup of vegetable oil. I'm going to have to do 1/4 times 2 over 1. Multiply my numerators, 1 times 2 is 2. Multiply my denominators, 4 times 1 is 4. That gives me 2/4. 2/4 can then be simplified to a half, so we're going to need a 1/2 cup of oil if we double our recipe. When we get to flour, now we have a mixed number. So we're going to have to do 1/2 times 2. Well, we know the 2 is going to have to become 2 over 1. Our 1/2 is going to have to turn to an improper fraction. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 1/2 becomes 3 over 2, and then 2 becomes 2 over 1. Now I can multiply my numerators and denominators. That gives me 6 over 2. When I simplify 6 over 2, that gives me 3. So we're going to need 3 cups of flour. When we get down here to sugar, it's a 1/2 cup again. Well, we already know from milk, doubling a 1/2 cup means I'm going to need a whole cup. So we're just going to go ahead and call that 1 cup of sugar rather than multiply it out again. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Well, that starts out straightforward. 2 times 2 means we're going to need 4 teaspoons. But wait a minute, we start getting into conversions because 3 teaspoons is equivalent to 1 tablespoon. So if I take my 4 teaspoons, I can pull out 1 tablespoon from, 1 tablespoon with a capital T, and have 1 teaspoon left. So that means I'm going to need 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of my baking powder. If you want to, you can still measure it out as 4 teaspoons, but you could also convert it to the tablespoon and the teaspoon. Our last ingredient is salt. We need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Well, we already know that 1/2 times 2 gives me 1, so that means we're going to need 1 whole teaspoon of salt. From there, you can make your double recipe of muffins and enjoy. Good luck!